Tata Motors, a brand synonymous with knowing to bring the electric evolution in India, or the brand that brought the electric mobility to the masses, have launched this, the all-new Tata Nexon EV MAX.
I need a bag, bruh.
Now, while the Tata Nexon EV saw a substantial number of sales figures, what a lot of customers complain about was its range and its battery capacity. Now, with the new launch, Tata has solved all those problems by offering a bigger battery capacity of 40.5 kilowatt per hour and an ARAI certified range of nearly 437 kilometers. Today, we at BBC Top Gear Magazine India are going to test out this theory and going to try to deplete as much of the battery as we can. Now, I know that during my entire day, I am not going to deplete as much battery as I can, but what I'm going to try to tell you guys is how much range is left by the end of the shoot. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more content like this. This is Yash Sunil. Let's begin.
Yeah, told him I'ma hit it out of stands. I deserve another 100 bands.
Looking at the Nexon EV MAX, it's going to be really hard to find any differences because there aren't any. Just like the Nexon EV, everything that you see on the Nexon EV MAX is the same. You have this blue accents that accentuates the EV lifestyle that the Nexon EV has. You have the overall design which is exactly the same as the Nexon. So if you ask me, it's pretty much the basic car as well. The only difference that you have is the rear disc brakes that you have in the rear wheels. Otherwise, the overall design is the same. Also, when you look at the paint, the teal color that you see is slightly darker compared to the Nexon EV. That is the only difference on the exterior. Otherwise, it's really hard for anybody, including me, to differentiate between the Nexon EV and a Nexon EV MAX because, again, it doesn't even have a badge to say the Nexon EV, it's the Nexon EV MAX. While the design elements on the exterior are exactly the same as the Nexon EV, things on the inside for the Nexon EV MAX is a lot different. Yes, I must agree that the overall dashboard layout, the overall seating layout is pretty similar to the previous car. What you do have is an all-new jeweled rotary display knob that allows you to select your gears. You have the option for 4 levels of regen braking, actually 3 levels of regen braking to turn it off as well. Also, you have an electronic handbrake, an option to auto hold, and you have ventilated front seats. Also, what you have on offer is a wireless charger here and an air quality index for your interior air quality. So if you ask me, overall the build quality for the interior is pretty up notch and pretty up there. I like this nice design element that you have here, but if you ask me, I would much rather have a Nexon EV badge here and not a Nexon badge here. What I also really like is these vents have this nice design element which makes you realize that you're in a Nexon EV and not a standard Nexon. Also, while I'm at it, I really like the small quirks that Tata adds, such as when you open the glove box, you have this nice tiger imprint on the inside, and you have some other quirky design elements that I really like that Tata does. Now, the most significant change on the Tata Nexon EV MAX has to be its 40.5 kilowatt hour battery pack, which offers a claimed ARAI range, as I mentioned, of nearly 437 kilometers. Now, obviously, the real world range would differ between your driving conditions and the road conditions as well. So you can expect a range of somewhere between 300 to actually more than 350 kilometers, but not the actual 437 kilometers. Nonetheless, thanks to its bigger battery pack, it now produces almost 140 horsepower and 250 Nm of torque, which simply means that this Nexon EV MAX can do a 0 to 100 time of nearly 9 seconds or under 9 seconds as per Tata claim. So the Nexon EV has 3 driving modes on offer. What you have is Sport, Eco and Normal. Now for most of your driving, you're going to be using Normal or Eco, but that is something that really depletes your acceleration feel. So that is not something you should use on a regular basis unless it's really required. What you would enjoy a lot would be Sport mode, but you would watch your battery percentage drop drastically every time you even touch the throttle. So personally for me, I feel that driving a Normal is pretty good enough. Moreover, thanks to it being an electric vehicle, the feel of acceleration, the torque that you get is almost instantaneous. Like from 0 to 40, 40 to 80, the torque feels instant. Only when you're going really high, when you're on a higher speed, is when you start to feel the engine slightly dulled down, but that is again very marginal. For city use, you're going to be pretty impressed. Okay, let me mention about the suspension on the Nexon EV MAX. It uses the same suspension as the Nexon EV, but the Nexon EV MAX is 100 kilograms heavier thanks to its bigger battery pack. But again, that is not something that you feel on the inside. The suspension feels pretty supple. When the roads are really bad, that is when you will feel a little bit of undulations. The ground clearance has gone down by 10 mm, but again, not a big difference, because let me tell you that the battery pack is IP67 rated, so it is pretty waterproof. So you can take it water wading up till a certain level, obviously, especially looking at the Mumbai rains. But nonetheless, you are pretty secure in that. Let me talk about the braking that the car has. Now, this is something that's quite a bit of a talking point, because now the Nexon EV has 3 levels of regenerative braking, and it does allow you to drive one pedal only when you're on your highest setting. But the regenerative braking isn't as strong as a lot of other EV cars that I've driven. That being said, the Nexon EV MAX offers disc brakes on all 4 wheels, which obviously improves the braking distance drastically and also improves the braking quality. So when you do want to stop at a dime, it does stop at a dime. Also, when you're stuck in start-stop traffic, put the regenerative on its highest setting, and you don't have to worry about keep having to press the accelerator on the brake, accelerator and the brake. Makes life quite easy actually. Now let me talk about another thing that a lot of people are going to appreciate, and that is the NVH levels in this car. Because thanks to no engine, thanks to not having an engine, you don't have a lot of noise coming in. And when you're driving in the city, you don't have a lot of noise coming in, even in general, even with regards to the wheels or the road noise or the tire noise. It's only when you're starting to go a little faster, that is when you start hearing the tire noise creeping into the air, creeping into the cabin actually. But again, that is something that most people will not face, because if you're driving in the city, that's not something you're going to do, because honestly speaking, the music system is damn good. So you can be banging your tunes and never have to hear anything. That is its overall interior space, because I'm not really happy with the interior space. Like, I am sitting comfortably in my driving seat. I have a good driving position. I can see out pretty well. But if somebody has to sit behind me, I'm 6 feet tall, and if somebody has to sit behind me, they're not going to be really comfortable at the back. And over long distances, they're going to feel really cramped. And thanks to its long range, I'm guessing a lot of people are going to take this for long distances, and they're going to find it really cramped. Although the boot space is pretty decent, even though the bigger battery pack, they managed to retain the same boot space, and overall it's pretty decent. But no, if you ask me, I feel that they should have had a bit more space on the inside. Maybe that is something they can do with the next update. Well, last but not least, the steering feedback is pretty decent. It has a good steering feedback actually. You can feel what the tires are up to, and you can push the car. Obviously not as much as a sports car, but it does do pretty well, and I'm pretty impressed for it being an electric vehicle, being able to do that pretty well. Again, the overall fit and finish is also good, not the best. Like, you can hear a bit of creaking noise and from there and there, and I'm guessing with time, like, this is a brand new car, so you don't hear a lot of creaking, but with time you can hear that. But again, it's something that it's a compromise you have to make. What I really like is this. The rotary dial with the display on top. It looks something as, actually, from a car that is like a lot of segments above its level. Like, this is something that really attracts my eye. Otherwise, everything else is good. Interior is pretty decent. Like I mentioned previously, I'm not a big fan of this light colored interiors, but hey, it makes the car look a lot airier than it is. So yeah, why not? Now, the one aspect where Tata really nails the bullseye every time is safety, and we've known Tata to be one of the safest manufacturers in India. This is no less. Obviously, like your previous Nexon EV, you have all the safety that you have on offer, but what it also offers now is ABS, EBD, hill hold control, hill descent, and like I mentioned previously, you also have disc brakes on all 4 wheels. So when you look at all of these things, right, it feels pretty safe to be inside this car, and that is something that I give thumbs up for. Earlier, when you had a Nexon EV, what you got was a 3.3 kilowatt hour charger, but now what you get is a 7.2 kilowatt charger that you see behind me. That is optional, but what it does is it charges the Nexon EV MAX in 6.5 hours, from 0 to 100 in 6.5 hours. Not only that, you can also use a 50 kilowatt hour charger to charge the Nexon EV from 0 to 80 in just 56 minutes. After spending an entire day with the Nexon EV, I finally understand why this is the most popular electric vehicle sold in India. Now Tata have sold over 15,000 units of the Nexon EV, and I can only imagine that they're going to do a lot better with the Nexon EV MAX. Well, its pricing for the Nexon EV MAX is ranged between 17.74 lakh rupees and 18.74 lakh rupees for the two variants that's available. Plus, for an additional 50,000 rupees, you can get the 7.2 kilowatt hour wall charger, which allows you to charge your car in under 6.5 hours. Furthermore, I feel that anybody looking to buy their first electric vehicle or their next electric vehicle should certainly consider the Nexon EV, because anything else that you're looking to buy, apart from the MG ZS EV and the Hyundai Kona EV, is all about the sub 50 lakh rupees mark. If you ask me, I'm finding it really hard to find any faults with the car, apart from the space that it has on offer, which I mentioned earlier. Now, with its bigger battery pack and a longer range, I can imagine that a lot more people are going to be interested in buying the Nexon EV MAX simply because they can actually take it outside and explore the unknown, which was earlier an issue. If you're worried about the batteries going bad, Tata has you covered even there. You get an 8-year or 1,60,000 kilometer warranty on the batteries, which only means that for your entire usage of your car, you're not going to have to worry about the batteries per se. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to BBC Top Gear Magazine India. This is Yash Sunil signing out. Have an electric evening.